And welcome to this week's edition of It's Your City. I'm Courtney Bloomer here in our studios at the Brewery Arts Center with this week's guest, Carson City Mayor Bob Crowell. Mr. Mayor, thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Courtney. Thanks for having me in today.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you back on the show. It's been a little while since you've been here.
It has been.
Lots to talk about. Lots has happened since the last time.
There's always lots of things going on in our city.
Absolutely. Lots of things going on in Carson City. So let's talk about some of those things.
Okay.
I'd like to start out today by just recapping a couple of the big things that happened in yesterday's Board of Supervisors meeting, specifically something that you called a very big deal for Carson City. The very big deal has been in the works since about 2009. Tell us about it.
Well, the very big deal is that we finally have all the property from both, under the Carson Vitality Act, the lands bill, what we call a lands bill. We finally got the final transfer from the Bureau of Land Management of about 5,400 acres of open space land to Carson City, which complements the land we already got from the Forest Service. And a lot of that land that we're getting right now is Prison Hill and Silver Saddle Ranch. Prison Hill, as you know, has a conservation easement on it that we, BLM and the Carson City jointly agreed to. But it's a big deal because that means that now Carson City has, management and control over, I think the actual number is probably over 6,000 acres of open space, which is really rather spectacular. You don't find that kind of open space in the middle of an urban environment. And as I was telling somebody the other day, if you want to think about Carson City, you don't find a city like Carson where there's a mix of urban and rural environment like we have here. It's unbelievable. So the transfer finally from BLM, and it's not anybody's fault, they had to go out and do a resurvey and all that stuff. It is a big deal for us because it allows us, through our open space program, to offer some amenities that you won't find elsewhere, in my view, elsewhere in the world.
Absolutely. It's really unique and such a great recreational spot right in the midst of town.
That's what it's hard to explain that to people, and I don't know if I said this before on one of your other shows, but I'll just relate it. So, for years I would go out, not that I'm any big shake about it, but I ran Prison Hill half marathon for 2 or 3, maybe 4 times, I can't remember. But I ran to the top. One time I was out on my own, and I ran with my dog up to the top of Prison Hill, up there, up to the very tip top. And the only thing I heard was my dog breathing. And I thought to myself, I actually called my wife. I said, this is really rather amazing. Here I am looking down at the capital of the state of Nevada, looking at these beautiful mountains, and all I hear is the breath of my dog. And so I kind of related that story to some national folks that came in here to look, looking to locate here. And I told them, I said, you can't find, you can be in the heart of political and urban environment, and in 20 minutes, if you're in pretty good shape, you can be on top of one of our mountains and hear nothing. And in our world today, where there's such, I call it cacophony, we have a lot of light, ground light and cacophony, noise and things, where you go and you hear absolutely nothing. It's phenomenal. And I'll never forget, the CEO of this international company said, I'm a hiker, I know exactly what you mean. And that's the type of attitude and the type of community, I think, that's going to make Carson City sustainable over the long term. We have a beautiful community for not just, our retired folks, but for new people wanting to come in.
Absolutely. And you must be in better shape than me, because when I get to the top of Prison Hill, I can hear myself breathing.
Well, I don't go too fast either, man. I don't go too fast. But it's a big, but the BLM transfer is a big deal, and Silver Saddle Ranch is unbelievably gorgeous. Unbelievably.
It is, and fantastic views, and definitely want to encourage everybody to get out there and utilize this resource that we have right in the midst of our community.
And what people don't realize, I mean, it's even hard for me to realize, is that, Carson City, through its open space, now owns the property, with the very little exception, all the riparian property along Carson River from essentially Mexican Dam all the way to Lyon County, the Lyon County line. It's unbelievable. So
we really are, that program's really great and promising for the future.
Yeah, it's a long time off, but I mean, that's another gem in the rough. That's there, man.
So another thing that we're doing to try and get people out in Carson City are a number of really exciting events that are coming to our town over the course of this summer. So summer's just starting here in Carson City, but we have a number of really exciting events already lined up to happen.
Yeah, what is it? It's Bikes, Brews, and Bubblies is, I think,
Absolutely.
coming up, you know. And so, you know, we're going to have a craft brewers down on Carson Street. We'll have the motorcycle challenge, you know, where you know, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but that's a phenomenal little thing about.
Absolutely, and some of our sheriff's motor officers
they'll be
participate in that.
It's really rather, it's interesting. And you get to see, you know, what, because those bikes are not small bikes, but they do some amazing things on it. So, you know, I look forward to that one, and
that's coming on June 26th and 27th.
June 26th and 27th.
To Carson Street.
Yeah, and then I think we have we do have Taste of Downtown coming, which is, you know, essentially, you know, the downtown is taken over by people, you know, just savoring the food and having a good time. It's one of the best times to go down and mix and mingle and just, you know, that's to, you know, support the advocates to end domestic violence.
Right, and we had Bacilli on last week from Advocates to promote that event. I'm certainly looking forward to tasting all of the food offerings that people bring downtown for that event.
You know, that event has grown into one of the more premier events that's around. I mean, we get people from all over the world. I mean, all over the country coming to that event. You know, and the other place, you know, that we've also obviously got the 4th of July celebration coming up, where Mills Park RSVP will have its carnival again. So, you know, if you like to ride some of those little rides out there, maybe throw up a little bit.
And of course, the highlight of the 4th of July.
Throw up, you know, a highlight. You know,
fireworks.
The fireworks. So I say throw up in terms, you know, if you like me, you get in those rides and you get, oh, here's my stomach getting queasy.
Yeah, I'm not a ride person either.
But so that, you know, but I always like to try it. I mean, regardless. So but you know, and also after that, we'll have the NV Fair, the Carson City Fair.
This is the second year that the fair is back in Carson City.
Yeah.
So last year, some of the things that were successful with the fair, we had livestock, we had a carnival, a great little Midway area artisans and crafters from around the state. Are we bringing back all of those things?
We are. It'll be even better this year. And you know, we talked at the board meeting about whether or not we should have a gate fee for that. And if you had a gate fee for that fair, you would obviously, you know, it made money last year. Not a whole lot. I think the end result was about $25,000, something like that. But it's almost impossible to have a gate. You know, you'd have to fence the entire area to really have a gate fee. So instead, what they're going to have is a donation box at each of the entrances that they have. And also, you know, in kind of, you know, there's no doubt money's important, Cortney, but you know, it's all, you know, from what I heard from people last year, you know, it was awfully nice to just bring families out there without having to worry about digging into your wallet. You could go see all these things happening right then. You know, from my perspective, you know, from the development of a sense of community, I think that, you know, leaving it the way it is and just having people come in and out and not having to worry about those, I think that's a smarter way of doing it. But you know, we have to look at also.
It's a tremendous service to the community. You know, a great, safe, family-friendly environment that people can come to. And you know, the city has worked really hard to the shuttles going back and forth to get people to the venue worked out really well last year.
Well, yeah, it did, and that, you know, thanks to, you know, to the Fandango and Court Cardinal out there and others, you know, that the shuttle worked extremely well, and you know, it's just, you know, we have good people that help us put these things on. So those are some things that are happening this summer. You know, there's a lot of other things going on.
A lot of other things are going on too, and certainly, you know, keep an eye out on the paper and on the city's website and social media pages.
Yeah, well,
to find out what's going on around.
There's one other one that's kind of my favorite. You know, that it's the month of August will be a month of free jazz in different venues throughout the city.
Absolutely.
The Mile High Jazz Band is going to put that on, and you know, that's another one where it's free. You go to, you know, Comma Coffee or wherever else, you know, they'll have different venues throughout the city, free jazz, and there's some remarkable talent around here. Remarkable talent.
There is a great opportunity to bring the arts to our community. Lots of artists taking place. Lots of productions are happening. Music is happening. We've got, you know, every weekend here in Carson City, different venues around town host live music and lots of fun stuff is going on.
Lots of fun stuff. And by the time you see this, the Sunday this last Sunday will be past. But the library's having Sundays on Sunday. It's going to be open 7 days a week. So they had this past Sunday. They had a little open house, which is all those things. They create a community. They create a community, and I think it's important that from a sustainability standpoint that we look at ourselves as a community, because you can do so much more when you do that. I mean, one of our constituents once told me, he said, "Bob, Carson City is not just a collection of neighborhoods; it's a true community." And I believe that, and I'd like to build on that, because I think over time that's what's going to help make a difference. That make Carson City's capital stand out. So.
It is, and that's what's going to draw new businesses and new people.
And I can
to
tell
our
you a
community.
couple. I can tell you a couple things. I don't know how much time we got, but I can tell you that last week ago, I met. We had 2 companies from Poland in Carson City. They met with all the state leaders. I had the good fortune to go out to dinner with them that night when they were here. They'd been looking all around the country for a place to launch 2 startup companies. They'd been to they'd been all around the United States, and we got word the next day that they are coming to Carson City. They're actually going to set up shop at the top of the second floor of the Adams Hub, which tells you, that people are looking favorably when they compare us to the rest of the world. And I'll also share that I just got an email out of the blue from a data source, a data company that is going to release. I think maybe by the time this comes out, there'll be a new release that says that Carson City is one of the top 10 communities in the nation for young lawyers to live and work. Now, people will say, "What? Do we need more lawyers in Carson?" But I think the fact that people are looking at us in that vein, that's tremendous.
Well, and it hasn't been that long since we were named one of the top state capitals to visit.
That's exactly right, and it all adds up. In terms of, we have different demographics in our community. We have seniors. Then I think I'm one of those seniors. Then you get into the middle age, and then in millennials. All of those are they all have to kind of work together to build a community where there's enough wealth and enough capital going around where they all are sustainable. And that's kind of the trick, I think, of successful communities is being able to take care of all those different, to create a synergy between those different demographics in your community. And so, I personally, I try and avoid doing anything that's going to create silos, because I think that we need to have the college, we need to have education. And by the way, I'm glad that we were able to get, or Assemblyman O'Neill, our local assemblyman, was able to get
the bridge funding.
The bridge funding
is in for WNC
for
to help them.
WNC, there's just a lot of things happening in that vein. So
certainly positive. Carson
Certainly.
City is growing. The community is certainly vibrant. I've been here now for 6 years, and am thrilled that I decided to choose Carson City as my home. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming today and talking with us again.
Well, thank you for having me here, and I hope I didn't take up too much time, but next time I'll continue to take time, because
No, we got to share everything with the viewers what's going on.
And before we end here, I'll just tell you another cute little story. I happened to be the welcoming speaker for the Nevada Newsmakers Outreach Dinner, which was 2 weeks ago. And so they had me be the welcoming person. Well, giving me the microphone, they said, "You can talk about Carson City." So I had a room full of business people, legislators, and things of that nature. So I just monopolized, told them about Carson City.
You sure can talk about Carson City.
Anyway.
No one can deny that. Well, thank you for talking about Carson City today here on It's Your City. And thanks to everyone out there for joining us this week. We'll see you again next week. Have a great time.